Hello guys, meeting again with QINIMA, a channel that will always present interesting update about sports, especially boxing and MMA. It's not easy to become a UFC fighter, let alone to win the title. They have to face tough competition in terms of fighting skills, to how they can attract as many viewers as possible. But even so, there are some fighters who have excellent fighting skills and records, but in fact they have never won a title. They are the kings without crowns in the UFC, but before we continue, please hit the subscribe button and activate the bell, so as not to miss the latest updates from QINIMA. Without further ado, here are 5 great UFC fighters without a title. Donald Cerrone. Donald Cerrone is a man born in March 1983 who hails from America. He is an MMA artist and also a former professional kickboxer. Having the nickname Cowboy, he fights in the lightweight and welterweight divisions in the UFC. He is a 23-win fighter, which makes it his record for most wins in the UFC, which, in fact, surpasses George St-Pierre, Michael Bisping, as well as Demian Maia. Even Donald Cerrone surpassed Anderson Silva and Vitor Belfort for the number of finishes. Cerrone currently has a total of 16 finishes under Charles Oliveira, who is ranked first with 18 finishes. Cerrone previously fought for World Extreme Cage Fighting or WEC, but the WEC eventually merged with the UFC in October 2010. As part of the merger, all WEC fighters would also fight for the UFC, where they officially became UFC fighters. In the period from 2013 to 2015, Cerrone set a record with 8 consecutive wins, and up to now, Cerrone has fought 36 times. Of his 36 fights, Cerrone has defeated great fighters such as Charles Oliveira, Edson Barboza, Jim Miller, Eddie Alvarez, and Ben Henderson. But Donald Cerrone only has one chance for a title fight, and that is against Rafael dos Anjos. Unfortunately, Rafael dos Anjos is the man who has derailed the dream of a title belt, and has also broken a 13-bout winning streak into an 8-bout winning streak. Cerrone never got the chance for another title fight then, and his last 6 fights, he suffered losses with 1 no contest. Uriah Faber. Uriah Faber is from the United States, who competes at bantamweight and previously competed at featherweight. Uriah Faber is also the founder of Team Alpha Male, a martial arts gym that pioneered MMA among the lower weight classes. Team Alpha Male has also produced 3 UFC champions including TJ Dillashaw, Cody Garbrandt, and Deiveson Figueiredo. Before entering the UFC, Uriah Faber had a great run of form. But like Donald Cerrone, when the WEC joined the UFC in 2010, Uriah Faber's performance then became up and down. Uriah Faber has a total record of 35-11-0, and his most recent fight was against Petr Yan on December 14, 2019. Faber suffered defeat at that time with a knockout kick in the 3rd round. Actually, Uriah Faber has gotten 4 opportunities for title fights, but unfortunately Uriah Faber failed to win all 4 fights. The first title fight was against Dominick Cruz on July 2, 2011. He lost via unanimous decision in his 5-round fight. A year later he faced Hiran Barão for his second title fight, but again the same, he lost via unanimous decision after fighting for 5 rounds. Finally, he met Hiran Barão again for the second time to avenge his previous loss and make his 3rd attempt at the title belt. But this time it was even more disheartening, as he suffered a technical knockout loss in the 1st round via punches. His 4th title fight when he met Dominick Cruz was his 2nd, when he fought under the Rockhold vs. Bisping 2 card at UFC 199. Again, Faber suffered a unanimous decision loss in his 5-round fight. Wanderlei Silva. Wanderlei Silva is from Brazil, and he is of Brazilian-American descent. Prior to his UFC career, Silva fought for Pride Fighting Championship. In Pride, no one has been able to match or even surpass the records he has earned, namely the most wins, knockouts, title defenses, and the longest winning streak in history. Wanderlei Silva is a former Pride middleweight champion and the 2003 Pride middleweight Grand Prix tournament champion. Wanderlei Silva has an aggressive fighting style rooted in street fighting, coupled with elements of Muay Thai and kickboxing that he acquired when he was 13 years old. Although the axe murderer had a stellar record in Pride, Silva's UFC career was relatively short, and out of his 12 total fights, he only had 5 wins. Although Wanderlei Silva is a very terrible fighter with an outstanding track record in Pride, when he faced Tito Ortiz for the light heavyweight belt in Japan, Silva lost via unanimous decision. Wanderlei Silva's current total fight record is 35-13-1 and 1 no contest. Joseph Benavidez. Joseph Benavidez is from America and competes in the flyweight division for the UFC. Joseph Benavidez is of Mexican descent and joined Team Alpha Male, led by Uriah Faber, in 2007. Over the course of his career, Benavidez has joined Dream, the WEC, and most recently the UFC. Whether in Dream, WEC, or the UFC, Joseph Benavidez has performed well. Like other fighters, when the WEC merged with the UFC, Joseph Benavidez also joined the world's largest MMA promotion, the UFC. In his first 3 fights in the UFC, Joseph Benavidez was able to win all of his matches, until he finally faced Demetrius Johnson at UFC 152, under the Jones vs. Belfort card. Unfortunately, Benavidez was unable to win the match, as he lost via split decision. Even in the second title fight when he met Demetrius Johnson for the second time, Benavidez suffered a knockout defeat via punches in the first round. His last title fight was against Deiveson Figueiredo II on July 18, 2020. Joseph Benavidez suffered defeat via rear naked choke in the first round, and again he failed to get the championship belt. Previously, Joseph Benavidez had also been defeated by Deiveson Figueiredo during their first meeting on February 29, 2020. He was defeated via a knockout punch in the second round back then. In his last fight, Askar Askarov came to add Joseph Benavidez's list of defeats to 3 consecutive defeats when they met at UFC 259 on March 6, 2021. Carlos Condit. Carlos Condit is a retired American mixed martial arts fighter who competed in the welterweight division in the UFC. Prior to the UFC, Condit fought for the WEC promotion. Carlos Condit made his WEC debut on January 20, 2007. In the WEC, Condit had a perfect record with 5 fights without losing once, until finally he joined the UFC and made his debut in April 2009 against Martin Kampmann. Unfortunately, Carlos Condit was unable to win the fight and received a split decision loss in his 3-round fight. After his defeat, Condit won 4 consecutive fights in his next fights, until finally he met Nick Diaz, who replaced George St-Pierre due to a knee injury. The fight was for the interim championship belt, and Carlos Condit managed to win the fight via unanimous decision. As the interim belt holder, it is Condit's obligation to face George St-Pierre at UFC 154 in November 2022. Unfortunately, Condit was unable to win the fight. Condit lost via unanimous decision. After experiencing ups and downs in subsequent fights, Condit got the second chance to fight for the welterweight championship belt. At that time Condit faced Robbie Lawler at the UFC 195 event. Lawler vs. Condit. Robbie Lawler managed to win the championship belt via split decision. On the other hand, Carlos Condit suffered 5 consecutive defeats in the following fights. Condit did not get another chance to fight for the championship belt. During this time, Carlos Condit has collected 32 wins and 14 defeats from 46 fights. Well guys, those are the great fighters who never became champions in the UFC. In your opinion, are there any other great fighters? Tell us your opinion in the comments section below. Don't forget to like, share, press the subscribe button and activate the bell, so you don't miss the latest updates from QINIMA. Thanks for watching and we'll see you in more videos.